lies. One woman drinks truth like blood. Red hair, black soul, eyes sharp as silver blades. She doesn't follow the story, she hunts it. She smells deception from miles away. She laughs at fear. And when liars crawl out of the dark, she's already waiting. This is what you get when you mess with Eve. The gothic mind, the crimson fire, the storm behind the smile. Cryptex and Eve. Truth doesn't hide tonight. Cryptex and Eve. Truth doesn't hide tonight.
Hello guys, how are you? Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me well. Tonight we have Eve, True Crime with Eve. I'm so happy to have you. How are you, Eve? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Super. I have to confess that I didn't know you. The other time you called into my live streaming, and I really loved the way you talked, your energy. It was so cool, your thoughts. And I said, who is this girl? After the show, I was looking for you. So I learned that you had a channel already, a huge channel. And I was watching a couple of videos, very, very cool. And then I found you in X. So I said, no, I have to do a live streaming with Eve. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation, Eve.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Likewise, I didn't really know a lot about your channel as well. And I just started listening because I just got back into Delphi after a long hiatus because of the drama. So yeah, I just started listening to everybody again just to see where everyone is and how they're doing. And I really liked how you weren't really sold on any one theory. I know that you lean towards the Keegan Klein aspect, and I get that totally. But you seem really fair, so I started listening to you more and more, and I appreciate your coverage.
So cool. So cool to have you here, Eve. So that being said, can you tell us something about yourself, about your channel? I know that a lot of people here already know you, but just for the people that is new.
Yeah, so I started on this platform. Actually, I started on TikTok and having fun, but I've always been into true crime. My grandmother, unfortunately, was murdered in the 80s, and so she never got the justice that she deserves. And I don't know, I think that kind of carried on with me, that justice needs to be served properly, and it irks me when injustice happens to people, victims, and to people that are actually innocent of a crime. So I've just always been fighting for the underdog or someone that's been done dirty, especially in the judicial sense. So anyway, TikTok is where I kind of originated from, and then moved to YouTube for some god awful reason. And it was to cover missing children's cases at first, because they are the most vulnerable. And a lot of times I notice that families, as much as we should respect them, they're not always the best of judgment because of the biases that they have of their own children. And that doesn't always mean that they have the right answers or the right thoughts when it comes to an investigation. So I'm kind of one of those that stick to less emotion, more factual driven, and it gets me in trouble. But I'm also starting to dive into multiple cases, not just children's cases, because it's just too much. But Delphi will always have a place in my heart. It always has, and I won't give up on this until something happens.
Yeah, for sure. So I saw that you were covering other cases. Like, can you tell us about the other cases you're covering? Other different to Delphi?
Yeah. So Michael Vaughn, he is a missing child from Fruitland, Idaho. He went missing on July 27th, 2021. And it's kind of funny because I'm talking to four suspects. Well, three of the four suspects and their family members who the police have named them as suspects, but I know a lot more than the normal everyday person. Um,
Wow.
and so it's very hard to have information, can't share it, but you know more than you should, and you know how to get it. And you're watching the police play a game, an investigative tactic, and you don't know which way it's going to go. But it's about to break open here in about 2 weeks. And I have been the, what is the word? Not villain, but the antithesis of the normal, what everybody thinks, these four suspects did it. And
Mhm.
I know a lot more. Let's just say that. So that's a big case that I've been working on for quite a while.
When you say that it's gonna break in 2 weeks, what do you mean? It's the process is gonna happen in 2 weeks, the verdict, or?
Well, nobody's been charged yet, so it's very complicated because the mother just went through of the missing child just went through a liver transplant. Um, and so she's recovering, but I know what the prosecution did behind the scenes to hurry up a potential indictment on someone that failed and probably was never going to be a thing anyway. So like I said, I don't know which way the police are playing this game.
Mhm.
But I do know that once one of the suspects gets released from federal prison in another state, depending on if they detain him and put him in Idaho, that's kind of where we're in limbo. And I'm waiting because I know what the police have been doing. I know what everybody's been doing. And so I have to kind of wait for the right moment. So, but I do know for a fact something will happen on the 30th of October. I know this. And so I just have to sit on my hands, which is so hard to do,
I imagine.
and wait. Oh, I just want to scream to everyone what I know, but I can't.
Yeah, you
Oh,
have
he's so sweet.
to control yourself.
It's
It's
really
not
tough.
easy, I imagine. Uh, that's great. That's something I need to do here. Since months, being I'm trying to contact some people relevant to this case, especially in the Keegan Klein's angle, and it's not happening. So when you tell me about that, you're like, oh, man, me too. I want to do that. How did you do? Just being nosy, or what's the strategy? Contacts.
Yeah, well, I didn't know this until recently, but I have family in Fruitland. But my family originates from California, Oregon, Washington. I'm in Texas. Somehow we ended up here. Um, but when I heard that he was missing and the circumstances, it's like one of those cases where you're like, that doesn't sound right. When the police first tell you, and you're like, and that it just hit me like, nah, no, 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 no. So I started sleuthing it. Actually, Sleuthy Goosey was really into that case, and Nerdy Addict, and a bunch of other ladies. But I think that she was smart and dropped it because she knew that there was something fishy going on in that police department. And I decided to pick it up and run with it, and I can't let it go. I'm one of those, I will not let it go. And Delphi is definitely that kind of a case. So here we go.
Yeah, for
Can we
sure.
just have one case that's just cut and dry and you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's what happened. That's exactly what the police said, and that's the evidence shows it." I don't see that in Delphi at all.
Yeah, and talking about Delphi, how did you start covering the case?
So I was behind the scenes, definitely heavy. No one knows who I am in Reddit, but I was in the Reddit threads, deep in the Reddit threads. So that's where I kind of housed myself for a while when it first came out. But that was also where the chaos really um began. And then YouTube, it crept out into the YouTube streets. But if anyone was in the Reddit threads for Delphi, that's where, excuse my language, the fuck shit really started. And so when it got
Oh,
really out of hand, I had to just back away. But then I started covering it on YouTube in 2021. But I had been sleuthing it the whole time, from the time that we heard about the case all the way until now.
yeah, well, this case is just insane. It's crazy. Um, do you have any hypothesis here, or you are like looking into the different angles? What's your position here in this case?
So I immediately thought that it was someone that one of the girls knew, or both of the girls knew very well, or that someone was acting as someone like a stranger, but they knew them. They just didn't realize it. That was just my first initial gut reaction, that, oh, somebody set them up to be killed. They knew too much about these girls. But the problem is that, of course, Carroll County and Idaho State Police and the FBI all had a hand in confusing the public to a point of rampant conspiracy against people that didn't deserve it, and people that and protected people that needed it more, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm one of those types that when a family says let's not talk about something, we need to talk about it more because there's something wrong. Um, when your child, and I can't speak for, um, I shouldn't speak on parents that have either a murdered child or a missing child, but logic tells me that any kind of uh what's the word, protection of information and stuff like that kind of goes out the window when you need your case solved for your child that's been murdered. Like, you don't give a shit anymore. There's a point where you say enough is enough. And I just felt like it took way too long for that to happen for the family. 2022, right before Richard Allen was arrested, that's when you started to see the flare-ups from the family. So that was weird to me.
Yeah, for sure. Give me just 1 second here, Eve. I'm just gonna say hi to the guys.
Sure.
So we have Mar. Hello, Mar. I can see that there is a troll in the chat, so you can use your range. Luis Cuevas, how are you? True Crime Web, Steve. How are you, Steve? Spooky, of course. Hey, Spooky. I was supposed to do a live with you, and you disappeared this weekend, so shame on you. It's unacceptable. Daisy asks, Amy from Australia, Kimo Sabe, Dev. Anyways, a lot of people tonight. Chelsea, Sunflower, Critical True Crime. So thank you guys for being here. I know that some viewers from Eve are here too, so you're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, Steve, thank you so much. You took care of the troll. Thank you for that. So after or recently, we obtained access to a lot of information that was sealed, exhibits, transcripts. What type of material did you find like interesting or relevant, or something that you are investigating in that aspect, the cell phone data or videos? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So are we talking about the Delphi case?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm interested in, so I was looking at some of the web browser searches of Richard Allen, because I really didn't look deeply into his Google searches because nothing popped out. Some people would be like, why is he searching, the Delphi stuff? throughout the time. Everybody was. Hell, my Google searches on Delphi stuff, you don't want to know. You don't want to know what I had to go to, the links I had to go to get some information about something I was sleuthing. But I just wanted to look at stuff, and it really it looks like he's just a normal dude that's interested in what's going on. I mean, this is a very shocking and weird crime involving two teenage girls. He's not looking at anything specific as to, like, you know, movies about a girl being abducted and being tortured. Like, there's nothing specific to me that would show that he is motivated in a sexual way, for instance, that this happened. You know what I mean? That would be a trigger for me to be like, Richard Allen, what the fuck? I don't see that. I was looking at the timeline, which is the most important thing in this case, that the prosecution failed, in my opinion. On a logical level, the jury just didn't, I guess, comprehend that, or the defense failed. I will admit that the defense failed
Sure.
to put that timeline out, and shove it down those jury's throats that there's no way Richard Allen could do this. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like my biggest thing is the timeline. He's Richard Allen is driving at what, 137, 127? Can't remember one of those. On camera. Where did he go after? You know, and you would try to you would want to break down any possibility that the prosecution would come up with. Oh, well, he circled around this way or that way and came back and murdered the girl. Like, they didn't hone in on that. And I really wish that they would have.
Yeah, I think that the defense, they failed to challenge the timeline. I agree that there are gaps in this timeline, and to me the major gap comes from the white van itself, because in that exhibit, in that video, I think it's the security camera that is installed in the Sandy Force property. The timestamp is 2:44 p.m. That's the time where the white van passes in front of the camera. And we know that in another exhibit of this process, the cell phone of Brad Weber is pinging like at, I think it's 2:51 or 2:52 at the property of his mother. So that confirms that the time, the 2:44 p.m. time, is correct. So that destroys totally the theory of the state, because according to the state, Richard Allen was scared of the white van at 2:29, 2:30, 2:31, the same time the cell phone stopped recording steps. So that's bad for the state, And again, that information was in front of the eyes of the defense, and they couldn't challenge that situation, and that's bad because we don't know the whole story. So, anyways, I agree with you. So that's a major gap here. And the other time I was talking about the initial conditions. When you formulate a theory, you need to have initial conditions, right? And some creators, they use the confession of Richard Allen as the initial condition to formulate their theories. You know what I mean? But that confession doesn't add up with the time the van is passing in front of the camera. So your whole theory doesn't work. You know what I mean? So you have to revisit those facts. And here everyone is very opinionated. There's a lot of passion. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. When you have to accept that some information that you are presenting in your channel is wrong, and that you have to think again about the theory you are presenting to your viewers, there's a problem there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now that we're looking at the appeal, because like the appeal is literally in my frontal lobe, just sitting there, because I know that it's so crucial that this is the beginning of the end, right? To have a retrial. Rarely do you get a direct appeal reversed in a new trial. 2% chance, I believe. Um, it does happen, and it usually happens with high profile murder cases, but it's very rare. And
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of things, 14% chance of getting an appeal at all. So it's very low in Indiana, right? So I looked up like what's his best chance statistically, um, and it's usually, the defense failing their client. That's like the Indiana tends to be okay with that, to reverse a conviction and give you a new trial, admitting that a lawyer did you dirty. Um, which sucks. It sucks for the client, and it also sucks for the attorney that may not have, you know, been a bad lawyer or did anything wrong or mishapped the case. Um, but it tarnishes their reputation forever. So I kind of feel bad for Baldwin and his team. Um, I know that they're gonna the appellate attorneys are gonna really have to figure out what's the best way, right, to get him a new trial. And I just don't know what's going to be in that argument. I'm very interested to see what they choose.
Yeah, 100%. And Michael Osbrook is here. In my
Yo.
previous live, he called also, and he was talking also about the appealing process. That was one of my questions for him. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but you said that you were not very optimistic about that. So I hope it's gonna happen. Because again, we were talking about that behind the scenes. If it's the only way I can see now to try to find more answers here,
Mhm.
uh, because I'm very repetitive, but it is what it is. We have a lot of questions and we don't have enough answers here. So
Or
what's going
data.
on? Or data, exactly. Or the information we have now is not. How can I say? uh, Drives you to have more questions than answers. For example, She Books is here. She puts that video of there's a vehicle entering the private way at 2:07 p.m. and then exiting that private way. What's going on there? Was someone being dropped uh, at the time of the murders? 2:07 is the same time the picture of Abby was um, taken or loaded in a Snapchat, whatever. It's a very interesting timing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
again, I know I'm biased here, and it can be anything. But when I think about the whole Klein situation, the Anthony Shots angle, the confession of Keegan, it to me it aligns with that hypothesis. Let's say so. I don't know. Again, and I know I'm stubborn and biased, and that's my angle here, and I'm not close to other hypotheses. But anyways, just to come back to the point, the new information we have uh, at the end is to have more questions than answers, in my opinion. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Uh, it's so frustrating because like some of this stuff is basic law enforcement 101. And the more that one or two boofs here and there happen in a case, because you can't be perfect. Law enforcement's not perfect, and I don't expect every investigation to be pristine, but my God, in this case, it's the whole thing was boofed. The whole thing was fumbled. The whole thing was a miscarriage of justice to me. Um, or we wouldn't be on lives going, there's more to this, and we don't think Richard is either the only one involved or he's innocent. So, yes, the family. matters, and if they feel like, they got justice for their girls, great. They're not the only ones affected. Matter of fact, everyone in Indiana is affected. Um, not just emotionally or mentally, but there are resources that could have been used for other things. There could have been laws passed, but some things that took precedence in the Delphi case got ahead of that. So like it's not just a family thing, it's everybody, you know? It affects everybody, and it affects how other people in the future who are wrongfully convicted or convicted on bullshit gets treated. So that's why it's so important to call out law enforcement for everything they did, for every boof they made on this case, because it affects, future trials and things like that. And can we get
Sure.
rid of Dole? Can somebody just like, how do we do this? Like, how do we get her to get the bleep out of, you know, Carroll County or something, because she's awful, the worst.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the mistakes here in this case, it's just insane. And I think if we do a contest for the investigation with the incredible amount of mistakes, Delphi is gonna win by far. And the problem with that is that at one point, mistakes can be explained by incompetence, but when you start accumulating mistakes, uh, we are gonna start talking about ethics because you are gonna try to cover your mistakes. You know what I mean? So that's when corruption enters into the whole picture. So it's just bad. It's just bad.
And
It's
what's more likely? Like, I don't know. Did law enforcement cover for one of their own or someone in the family that they know is shady and weird that probably did like which corruption avenue are you going to take? Are you going to go somebody in law enforcement did something or related to law enforcement, or did they just not know what the fuck they were doing and they really just could not let go of control and just kept messing it up, or they were lazy? Like which way? Could it be both? It could be.
Yeah, it could be anything, but again, I talk from my perspective and my theory here. I think that the holy grail here is the Dropbox. I'm positive that someone with power is involved in that Dropbox of Anthony Shots, and that's why law enforcement is covering for someone. I don't know, as you said, a police agent, a politician. It's just to me everything points to that situation. But again, I don't want to be just focused in that angle. But when I try to make sense of this whole case, that's how I can connect dots here. But I understand other hypotheses and other theories, of course. Um,
Do you want to hear my theory on like corruption, like law enforcement did it? Like you want to know who I think did it? Like if it was that?
of course, that's why you're
Toby
here.
fucking Lesenby, dude. Toby is such a creepy dude to me. When I listen to him, I literally get chills because there's something wrong with that man. I'm telling you. And he didn't live far away, by the way. I'm just
Why?
saying. I'm just
Why do you think he's maybe someone of interest here? I think at one point he was. I don't know if he was a suspect or a person of interest, but if I recall properly, he was like investigated or covered at least by law enforcement.
well, for one, Tobe has a white vehicle. All right. And he didn't live too far away. I don't even know, was he actually, his mustache is super suspicious. And I don't care what anybody says, there's a mustache on Bridge Guy. You can argue with me all day. I'm not going to change my mind. There's a mustache on that Bridge Guy. But here's why I think if it were law enforcement of anyone, it's Toby, because guys, when there's a in guys, Toby does that in right before guys. Toby literally says that every time he speaks. There is that in before a word because he's methodical when he talks. You could see that he's thinking, and he's very expressive. Like the man blushed when the first presser came out with Doug Carter. Like you could see on his face he was getting red on certain things that Doug Carter was saying, and that could just be innocent. Like this is a very intense case, and this is like bothering me, and my blood pressure's rising. But could it also be that you're involved, Toby? I don't know.
And
That's
maybe
just me.
no, no, and maybe if he was interviewed at the beginning of the process, was that interview lost in that bunch of interviews that were just disappearing by magic? You know what I mean? Anyways, it's crazy. So I'm gonna maybe ask you some standard questions here or random questions.
Okay.
When we see the 43 seconds video, do you think that there's someone else there, like whispering to Levy? We can hear some type of whispers. What is
Yep.
your what do you think about it?
As much as I appreciate Sleuth Intuition's failed attempt to try to convince me otherwise, there is somebody absolutely, definitely behind Abby. The audio I broke down literally soundbite by soundbite, meaning, um, layering it, kind of like what your guest that you had on the other day or a few weeks ago. I can't remember his name. He did an excellent job breaking down that and slowing down the audio for Rich Guy.
Ah, yes,
Um,
Steve Barber.
he's actually supposed to do Toby, and I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to compare. But I broke it down myself as well, and I hear somebody, you could hear Libby like kind of gasping or sniffing. There's someone else saying something, literally saying something behind her.
Yeah,
'Cause you
it's
could see that it barely picks it up, but it picks it up, and then she, like, either sniffles or laughs or something like that. Like, there is somebody else around, and it wasn't Abby on the bridge way over here. You could not hear that. She wasn't even speaking. If you zoom into her mouth, Abby's, while like, right at the beginning of the footage, she's not saying anything. It's not Abby. There is someone behind her.
yeah, it sounds like someone is like whispering, and that's weird. And sometimes I think that Abby didn't record that person on purpose. Maybe she was not supposed to be with some people, you know. So I don't know, just a crazy theory I have also. Maybe Abby was telling that girl or that guy, "Hey, don't talk. You are not
Mhm.
supposed to be with me here." So that's why he was or she was whispering, and that's
Yep.
why Libby was like addressing the cell phone in some specific direction. So of course it's pure speculation, but I think it's fair to at least consider the point of having someone there whispering because there are some sounds there.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think that there's something with that Dropbox too. I think that this is a group of very disgusting folks that, like I've said before, I think that they run in packs and groups because that's how they get busted a lot of times. Um, and I think that this was even beyond more than just a group of pedos. I think that this was somebody that was looking to up the ante and probably go the snuff route. That's just always been my gut feeling. I have really the only proof that I have on that is because of obviously the Flickr uh, tip that I have had for years. So that's where the Flickr thing comes in because Flickr had a problem with um, CSAM around that time. A horrible problem because they weren't being looked into as much as now. algorithms vetting that stuff in and sending it to the FBI to investigate. And so they actually started in 2018 and 2019 to get those things kicked off because it was such a problem. Like they were creating these guys or people were creating groups, um, secret groups, private groups that they would invite each other in and take horrible videos and photos and share them that way. And so, when I found David at the end of the bridge around 2:30 something, and then you have Kenneth on Flickr down the way showing that his camera uploaded something there around the same time. Like there's a multitude of people involved in this, in my opinion. And by the way, that tip that I've been screaming about lately on X is in the right hands, and someone is looking into it.
You're talking about the David Brown.
David Brown. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about him. I saw it in your X posts. Let's say. Can you tell us something about that? It's the first time I hear about him.
So, you know how there's a railroad. I mean, if you think about it, this was an old railroad bridge. Okay. So there is a railroad. I think it's called Norfolk Southern. That it's a railroad that goes into Delphi and all the way up into Logansport, and then also back towards Lafayette. And there are groups of young and old folks that will record these trains of all types coming through all of these different areas. They're called rail fanners. And it's not too far away from the bridge. It's about, I think, not even half a mile, the railroad tracks. And that's who was around that area that day when the girls went to the bridge. Or someone who had their equipment that uploaded photos onto Flickr and then deleted them quickly after. I don't know if that was a mistake on either David or whoever the other one's part was, but somebody messed up. And that's when I grabbed that data.
I received like 2 months ago a tip from a viewer, and it's related to Flickr, but I think it's another guy because it doesn't sound to me like David, the one you were talking about. But it was a very interesting tip, and maybe Flickr is also in the scope. And when you talk about snuff, definitely it's a possibility here. And again, coming back to my angle here, the clients, I'm sure that Keegan Klein, he had a fantasy with cutting throats. We can see that when we hear the Kaila's story, the girl who was giving her testimony in one of the interviews with the murder sheet, when Keegan Klein said, "Why did you come with a girlfriend? You know that I can kidnap you, I can cut your throat, and watch you bleeding out." To me, this is like the same picture of the crime scene here. And we know that Keegan was into trading pictures in internet. I don't think he was just obtaining nudes from underage girls and boys. He was really in action. And the other time in when we were in my channel, you were talking about the tripod, the the marks, the tripod, sorry, in the crime scene. So that's also interesting because that rumor was circulating since the beginning of this case there. So were there
And
people?
I think it came from family. If I remember correctly, it was in Facebook comments or something like that. But somebody mentioned that was close to at least either the family or the case, that it looked like a stage, like with tripod marks.
Yeah, and
that was very early on.
Yeah, and if I recall properly, when Skip Johnson was here in my channel, he was talking about that, and maybe I'm wrong, but if I remember well, there were communications between Mark Robert Cohen and Skip, where they talk about the marks of that tripod. So yes, it suggests at one point that it could be related to snuff. And then you have the clients going to Vegas the next day, where a lot of rich
That is weird.
pervert. Yeah. So,
What
anyways,
about the guy, the friend? He
yeah,
goes to Vegas with his 2 kids and no girlfriend.
you know,
And that really throws me off, when Keegan explains it, and then I went and sleuthed the guy, and I'm like, "There's something not right with you, like, this doesn't make any sense to me," and I think that maybe he knew way more about the Dropbox account and things like that. Maybe he knew way more than we will ever know. There's just something wrong with that whole situation with, I can't remember his name, his friend.
yeah, Dirk something.
The one that lives literally across the street from him or something.
And I think he's still in Vegas.
Yeah.
If I'm not incorrect, I think he stayed there. Maybe I'm wrong. And you're right, because we tend to blame Tony Klein, like the other actor in this crime. We always tend to think about Keegan and Tony. But you're right. The one who was really close to Keegan Klein was a friend one, and they were together to Vegas. So maybe he's one of the actors
Emily
here, and
Ann.
as you say, he has potentially some information about that Dropbox.
I think Emily Ann and whoever was Emily the one that he was speaking to, Keegan Klein, on Kick. I can't remember, but either way, I think that the person that Keegan Klein was talking to, where he at the end was like, you said it was my cousin. You have a video or a picture of my cousin. What? Like, first of all, you should be like, excuse me, and second of all, you are way too comfortable with this dude. You know exactly who Emily Ann is. If I have it right, the screen name, like, you know who that is, Keegan. He's
Right.
covering for someone, for sure.
Yeah, Emily Ann was one of the accounts that was being used by Keegan. And,
Oh, okay, so whoever he was talking to, that was probably redacted.
Yeah,
That's who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, that's
He knew who that was.
For sure. Anyways, let me see here in my. Okay, what about before going there? There was a comment from Michael Osbrook here, and that's a great point. During the process, there was this guy Harshman who was allowed to testify, saying that the bridge guy voice was a match to Richard Allen's voice, and this is just bad. That was a way to influence the jurors, and this is just one.
I don't hear it.
One additional element here that is, I don't know. This guy, and I think he's involved, but for sure he didn't have a fair process. So how can you get the right outcome when you see this amount of mistakes, when you see people or a judge allowing a person like Harshman influencing the jurors with that type of testimony? This is unacceptable. Anyways, it's just bad. And
Is it still an active investigation?
who?
Have they confirmed that the investigation is still ongoing?
No, I don't think so. To me, they shook hands after the end of the process. They are not interested in going after someone else. I think there's they have their medals on their chests. Jerry Holman was in that Comic-Con, I call it, to have an award. It's It's insane. This is bad.
Despicable.
Despicable. It's horrible.
First of all, Nick, cut your damn hair. You don't look cute. You're too old for this. Secondly, you spewed, you and Jerry will never recover from this if there's a slight chance that Richard Allen gets vindicated, perhaps, or at least a retrial. Like, I want y'all to be so ashamed you can't look at your mama in the eyes if they're alive. Like, I want them to be absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, for sure.
I really do. They deserve it because the lies that those two tell, they are thick as thieves, both of them.
Right. What do you think about the box cutter? That theory.
Well, it is more believable that Ricky Davis, or is it Ricky or Reese?
Reese, I think it's Reese.
I'm just going to call him Ricky. It feels right.
Call it
Ricky,
What?
his story is more believable because he was telling from Ron Logan's point of view and what he heard, and Keegan Kline, stuff that had not been released. I mean, you can go look, and there were mentionings of it in Reddit because that's where I was housed for a while. But that was just theoretical. There was not anybody saying, I know that their throats were cut. Like, I didn't find it anyway. It's more believable that Ron Logan and Keegan Kline's angle was a reality than Richard Allen saying that he cut the girls' throats, during Monica Walla's bullshit.
Yeah, what is funny is that law enforcement, they took advantage of that box cutter information coming from Richard Allen, if that happened, to change their opinion about the murder weapons. So initially, they said that the injuries of the girls were consistent with two different weapons, right? So that was a suggestion of multiple perpetrators. But when they had that information about the box cutter coming from Richard Allen, so they changed right away their theory to fit that against Richard Allen. But what is really funny, as you said, is that Reese Davis was talking about a box cutter in 2017, an information that only the killer would know, information given by Ron Logan. So it's just a mess. It's just crazy. And again, another element pointing to, I don't know if I can say corruption, but something really fishy here in this case, really shady,
So, like, I'm wondering why, if law enforcement had enough evidence for Keegan Kline to take the fall for this, which I think that they were really trying to actually do this, what prevented them from going the full haul? I think it's because they were getting a little too close for comfort, these investigators with Keegan Kline, that would turn it back to a potential law enforcement officer who was doing this stuff, who was sharing videos in the Dropbox. It would tie to someone within who has been probably doing this for a very long time. And it would destroy his or her, whoever, their families and their reputation. That's the only way that I could think of why law enforcement wouldn't go the extra mile and do their investigation, or the FBI was using people involved in that as an informant, and they didn't want to get somebody killed, because it does happen. Those things do happen where they use, agents to go into infiltrate these pedo rings, and maybe it would put them in danger. I don't know. That's just a theory. That's probably unlikely, but it's a thought.
Yeah. Let's talk about, let me think. The other time we were talking about Odinism, and I was like in the same line with you when you were saying that it's not going to be likely that the crime was committed by Odinists, because it's like they were announcing the crime, right? Like, look, this is me who did it, because brother was posting pictures in Facebook mimicking the crime scene, the whole rune pattern, let's say. So who does that type of stupid thing, you know? And you were saying that maybe a more possible explanation is that maybe someone else was trying to frame an Odinist group in that case, something like that, right?
Yeah. Like, look, don't get me wrong. The Odinist theory, I get it. I really do. They are not the people that infiltrated the Odinist group are white nationalist pieces of shit. I would actually like to see them go to jail for some of the crimes that they were probably being investigated for, if they haven't already. But I really think seeing the leaked photos, I'm just going to admit it. I have nothing to hide. It was too staged. It was too put together. I don't understand why someone in a cult would do that and want to get caught. Like, that's just logical. I mean, you'd have to be an actual psychopath to do that and be like, I don't care if I get caught or not because I did this crime and I want the notoriety. I don't feel that this was the case. I feel like this was retaliatory and somebody had to take the fall for it. So why not set up the Odinist, white nationalists that infiltrated that group? So I think that that's more probable. And I also think that I think that those apps, now that we know about it, I think that somebody was pissed off that they were on there doing whatever it was. Somebody was pissed that they were on there. Well, for whatever reason they are on there for or doing. I think it set somebody off, and it could be some psycho pedo or a group of them. I don't know. A family member could be like, Um, I think it was very targeted because of their activity online, specifically Libby, because of how brutal her injuries were compared to Abby's. Abby's was kind of almost taken care of in a way, as horrible as that sounds, because she was murdered too. But
Sure.
Libby was humiliated.
Yeah.
Humiliated.
100%. And
And
again,
that
I
just
know
screams retaliation.
I know I'm annoying, but when you say that, someone was really pissed. Someone was angry, and it came back to my mind the words of Keegan Klein when in that Kyla situation, he was pissed because Kyla showed up with another girl. She was supposed to be alone. So I wonder if in the Delphi's case is the same. Because remember in that transcript, Keegan Klein, the investigator, I think it was Vido, he told Keegan, and we have the messages, and or maybe it was not Vido, it was a friend of Libby. Anyways, but the context is that Keegan said, "Oh my God, she was supposed to be here, or I was supposed to meet Libby, but she never showed up." She talks about one person, so I don't know if he was pissed because Libby showed up with Abby, and Abby was not supposed to be there. I don't know. I do the relationship between the Kyla story and Libby being there with another person, Abby. So I don't know. Maybe that's why he was pissed with
I don't know.
Libby.
Like,
But again, it just
did you
me doing
did you
connections.
murder someone?
Yeah.
No. First of all, we have to understand and admit to ourselves that even though we're not murderous freaks, it would be very difficult to just go and murder two girls with nothing if you were just enraged. This feels so thought out. If you look at the bridge guy, and I don't know if anybody else was in the beginning of this case, I'm talking minutes or at least a week after um, the murders happened. I mean, there were lots of people deep diving into when the Bridge Guy video came out, and you could see, I remember agreeing with a panel of people who were really invested in the case, where you could see that there's stuff stuffed into that jacket. There is all sorts of crazy stuff and going on in that jacket. And somebody had enhanced that video or that photo, and you could see all sorts of like strings coming out. There was obviously a jacket underneath the jacket, the blue jacket. There were strings that came out. You could see that it literally looks like Bridge Guy is holding the stuff from falling out of his jacket because they were all sorts of stuff. And I do feel like there's a camera in there. I do, based on what I know with Flickr. So I think this was a definite snuff related revenge. Like they did not, he or they did not feel like the Libby specifically was worth was a human. Whoever did this, they didn't see people as humans, especially Libby, poor girl.
And again, when we talk about snuff, again, I'm going to the clients. There was an interview that the murder sheet they made to Tony Klein's daughter, and she said that at one point, I don't know what happened between between her and Tony Klein. There was like an argument, and Tony said, Tony told her, "Go away," and she started running, and Tony took a rifle, and he actually shot her. I don't know if she was shot or at the back or something like that, or if he missed the shot. But that looks like those movies where there are like human hunting, like run, and then like the killer in Alaska. I think that maybe something like that could happen in the Delphi's case, and that area is like perfect for something like that. Look, so let's go there, start running, and then there's a psycho with a knife and someone else recording the whole situation. I don't know.
Delphi always, I don't know why, but Delphi always brings me back to serial killer Israel Keys. If anybody doesn't know who that is, you need to look that person up. Psychotic. He killed himself in prison to avoid having to live with not that he had a problem with killing, obviously, but he just, I don't think, wanted to win. He wanted to be in power, and that was how he did it. But the way that he treated that last victim of his, brutal, just, that's the type of person that would do this to two girls. That would be the type, an Israel Keys type that had rage and that is very powerful in convincing and manipulating other people to help. And that's where I think the Odinist angle comes into. I think that somebody was kind of infiltrating to try to find some idiots to help carry out a vindictive murder. And it ended up being a double murder.
Sure.
Libby was the target. And I think that everybody could be involved in some way, not realizing that they are involved. So, the Patrick Westphal and the Messer and all of that, they might be inadvertently connected and might know something on somebody that they just don't want to talk about because that would implicate them in a crime. So they're not going to spill the beans. But in fact, the idiots they were trying to recruit to do stuff for them in this group could be the ones that were picked out to go and help murder these girls. Because I do believe there is a connection there. And maybe that person that's doing all this weird shit is got a Dropbox link with Keegan Klein doing all this dirty shit. Like, it could all be connected. Why not?
Sure. 100%. Let me share something here in the screen. If just 1 second. I think you are familiar with this picture, right? Can you? Sorry. Yeah, it's there. Can you see it? That was one of the pictures that were recently published or released, let's say. Uh, this is a picture that was taken by Libby when she was there with Abby. Uh, we can see like two sticks here. Do you think that this is by random, those sticks there, or someone placed those sticks here? Because I don't know. We know that there were sticks above the girls, and now we have this picture, and we have two sticks like that. I don't know if do you see anything there, or it's like a mark, like could be related to the crime scene at one point. Like I don't know. It's just weird.
It could be. I mean, very. I don't know. Do we know what exact time this was taken?
I yes, we know, but I don't have the information here in front of my. I have to
Was
look
it?
for it.
Do you know if it was before the bridge guy video? Right? It would have to be, right?
Yeah, for sure. But
Probably like 140 or 150. Let's just say I think that there was a photo around that time. Trying to remember the metadata.
Slot intuition is here in the chat, and slot, you in that case you're wrong. You're wrong because we know that the van passed in front of the camera of the Sandyfors at 2:44, and this is confirmed by the cell phone of Brad Weber pinging at his mother's property. So you have that wrong, Slot. So let's continue, Eve.
All right. It could be. And if Libby's phone, if it was taken by Libby's phone, like, then that would mean that she kind of is into this, whatever it is, because if it's connected to like, obviously what the crime scene shows, she would have awareness of that world, which would make sense because Abby used to date or was dating Brad Holder's son, right?
Right.
Would Logan, I think that was his name, Holder?
Logan Holder,
Is
Brad
that his name?
Holder's son.
I always forget. Yeah. Um, would he be enraged to see Abby and Libby chatting it up on House Monkey or whatever, Snapchat? Would he have the motive to maybe get some friends? And then Brad Holder, who has infiltrated his mind for years about, or at least what was it, the past few years around that time with all of these rituals and bloats or whatever. Maybe Logan was like, fuck everybody, I'm gonna pin it on the Odinist. And maybe he was upset. Oh, like, good God, we could go on for days.
Sure, the audience, they could be framed here. That's a very plausible outcome. And
Right.
sorry again, I'm gonna answer again to Slut. Slut, the maths are very easy. The cell phone was pinging. The Brad Weber cell phone was pinging at his mother property at 2:51 or 2:52. So the van, the timestamp is 2:44. It's a perfect match. So you cannot say that because it's AM versus PM that you are off by 13 minutes. I agree with a lot of your ideas and I respect you as a creator, but here you have to investigate a little bit more because you are wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong too, but in this specific point, you got it wrong, Slot. Coming back to the questions for Eve, what do you think about Ron Logan involvement, potential involvement, let's say? What's your position
I think
about that?
it's a high probability because of the fact that, look, there is no reason for a man to ask a cousin to lie for him over driving on probation when he wasn't supposed to, when there's 2 murdered girls on your property. You should be far away from lying or deceiving in any way, shape, or form. And he chose to call his cousin to lie for him, and the cousin did it. Why? Look into the cousin. When I heard that, when that came out, I was like, look at the cousin. Look at Ron Logan and the cousin. Who is the cousin? Um, but because the cousin admitted that he lied, because the FBI found out, I'm glad that he did that. Because I'm still confused on that, and I'm still miffed about all of that. But Ron Logan has a very high probability of being involved, more so than I think anyone, and especially Richard Allen, way more than Richard Allen could ever. And the timeline, his pings. I mean, look, he was in the area. His phone pings in the area of where the bodies were found. Even the highest variance out there that the FBI could make up or give you is still not outside of the realm that he was in the vicinity of where the girls were found. And not just around the time of their alleged murders, or the time, but later. And I think it was around the time that 10 something, I can't remember the exact time. So yes, Ron Logan is absolutely tippity top of the list for me of being involved. For sure.
Yeah, and the fact he was fabricating his alibi, he was renovating his bathroom after like a couple of weeks after the murders. The box cutter information coming from Rizzy Davis in 2017, which allegedly it came from Ron Logan. So yeah, I think that the Logan's angle is not yet closed. Again, another potential actor here. It's crazy, huh? If
Did you know that I found the a screenshot of George Stanley, which is who Ned Smith said he went to go visit with Rod Abrams and Elvis on the 14th or 13th. I found a screenshot where George was at home from the hospital on the 10th of February. His wife, posting it on Facebook, and he never went back. So either Ned's just lying to lie, or he got his dates mixed up. But that's a big deal.
it
I think
is,
people need to know that.
yeah, that's
Ned,
something.
his deposition, or his it was deposition, really made me chuckle, especially Criminality's version with Sleuthy Goosey. That was a interesting night. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know how much time you have tonight. If
I'm a free bird.
you're a free bird,
I'm a free bird.
a free eagle. I
Yeah.
want to see if someone here in the chat has any question for Eve. So, what do you think? You already answered this question, but what do you think about the sticks? What's
Yeah. To put the sticks on the girls takes planning. You don't just run over after, let's just say, use Richard Allen, because sleep intuition is just so dead set on this man. Let's just say Richard Allen was like, oh God, Brad Weber's van. Oh my God, I have to kill them. Like, I have to kill them. What if he saw me? Did it and was like, oh, let's just like put these sticks in a very particularly Odinist way while I'm freaking out because I got to get out of here. I got to like book it. So let me like gently place them in a particular way. Give Abby horns, and y'all can come at me all you want to. But if you have not seen the leaked photos, you have no bearing on how these sticks were laid. Like, you have to kind of see it for what it is and not a drawing. These sticks were placed on purpose. Period. The end. Game over. And so Richard Allen is like freaking out, right? And putting all of these sticks in a particular way to cover up for, himself and blame it on the Odinist and then get out of Dodge. Makes no sense to me. None.
Yeah, I still don't know what's the significance of the sticks. I don't think it was a way to hide the bodies at all. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think there's a very specific geometric pattern there. So to me, it looks more like a signature. I'm not gonna say it's related to Odinism or there were runes or something like that, but it's something that it means something for the killer. To me, it's more like a signature. Uh, but
It's almost
anyway,
a making fun of. I feel like it's mocking them. And I think Robert Ives feels that way too.
yeah, or a way to mislead the investigators too. So it's one of those to me. So a way to mislead the investigators, placing sticks in that geometric pattern, or a signature. I don't know.
Yeah, this
Uh,
person is vindictive. These people or person is vindictive. They are pissed, whether it be at a bunch of people, whether it be at Libby or both. Like someone or someone's are pissed at somebody, and they had to make it known to the public, specifically in Carroll County. Somebody got done wrong, and honestly, this could be this is the highest probability of police involvement is maybe a police officer or someone in law enforcement was so fucked over that they would go to any length to get back at the police and make their whole lives miserable because they know the ins and outs of how to protect themselves from being caught. And I've thought about that many, many times. And y'all are probably thinking, Eve, lay off the gummies. But first of all, no, I won't. And secondly, it's possible. It's possible for law enforcement to be mad at law enforcement for either being fired, let go, shamed, mocked, whatever it may be. And Jerry Holman is really good at that. So why not?
yeah, he's really good at a lot of things here. Not at interrogating someone because the interrogation he made to Richard Allen was really bad. He was not able to. I don't know. The strategy during that interrogation was just asking the same question during 1 hour, and Richard Allen he didn't show a single sign of deception there during that interview. He's bad. I agree with you. And what about Jerry Holman having the lead sheet since the first week of the murders? So the lead sheet containing the information of Richard
Talk
Allen.
about getting my blood pressure up and my cheeks being blushed like Toby's on that first presser. The murder shits knew what they were doing from the jump, and I've kind of broken out a timeline on how they got started in 2021, June of 2021, and that was when things really started to get heated up with the FBI involvement and being kicked off. And PR. The police needed PR bad because people were losing hope and faith in um Carroll County and the state police. So they're a PR rep, just like every high profile murder case. You always have to have a PR person out there or people to make it look better. That was their whole entire plan. There was no being even keel for both sides. It never happened. If you go back and listen to it now, you're like, yeah, they were totally biased. So that's just my opinion. I'll stick on that though. I will stand 10 toes down on that.
Yeah. I was talking about the lead sheet of the Dan Dulin's what's the name of that lost tip narrative. And let's say just for the sake of the discussion, let's say that Richard Allen is the killer and he was the only one here. Richard Allen had the whole information since the first week of the murders, and he spent almost 8 years to have a conviction. He went to the search of the Wabash River for 6 weeks. He spent $1 million. And how incompetent is that guy? Just for the sake of the conversation, if that was the actual outcome of this case, Richard Allen being the one, how incompetent is Jerry Holman? It's the worst of the worst. And again, I don't think Richard Allen was the only one involved in this case at all. To me, there are multiple elements pointing to multiple perpetrators. And anyways, I lost my line of thinking here, but
I think
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just think that they were so lazy, the people in charge, who thought that these investigators and detectives would do a good job, and then they find out, oh shit, we did not manage this properly, because they were, forced into the headlines, especially Doug Carter, his very interesting self, and facial expressions. I think that it took them off of their heels, and it did not let them actually investigate, and they did not manage their people. They let the hoorah of it all get to their heads. And so you have to think about the people below, the main players like Toby and Jerry, and Doug really doesn't even, we're not even going to mention him. He's just PR too. The people that were supposed to do their due diligence, like Mullen and Liggett and all of those players, didn't do it. And that's the suspicion. And that's why Tobe will always be my number one law enforcement suspect if that's what happened. Because, yeah, it just makes sense to me. So I think that their failures were self-inflicted. They'll never admit to it, because usually people in that position can't admit to their wrongdoings. But I think that their ego would not allow them to think that that they did anything wrong. It's always somebody else's problem. So,
Yeah.
bunch of ego-driven cops from Indiana. Oh.
Ego is everywhere. Ego is everywhere, especially here in this case. What do you think about the? Actually, I'm gonna share again the same picture we were watching. So, you know what this picture makes me think about? Do you remember the whole geo-caching theory here?
Mhm.
Sometimes it looks like, I don't know, there are some marks trying to point to some items being there, like maybe a geocaching game, something like that. Do you remember that theory, that angle?
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe related. I don't know, just
Who
thinking
else
about
was in that area? There's got to be somebody. Was it no? It was Cheyenne, right?
that day.
Mm-hmm. Down
Cheyenne.
at the down by the bridge on the south end at one point, and took a picture of I think the water, like almost like she took a picture with her hand over the bridge where it looks like you could fall.
Yeah. Looking to the bottom. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Were they
I don't know.
watching these girls? But that was, that was like at 3 something. So I'm not sure if I'm
Yeah.
thinking clearly on that, but
Yeah. Who knows? Just a random thought here.
it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Let me think about some question. Hey guys, Eve, she said that she's a free bird tonight, so I need action in the chat. Some questions for Eve, please, guys. Here.
Jeez. Yes.
There were.
So again, the Flickr tip that I've had forever is in the right hands. It's being looked into. It's been logged. It's been tagged and bagged theoretically. Okay. Because I think that law enforcement ignored it for a very long time on purpose, or they filed it in a drawer never to be seen again, or maybe a tip box that just vanished. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
they wrote cleared on it. I don't know.
yeah. Let's see, Lindsay here. I personally feel that it's just a photo to show the girls the path via landmarks to where they are supposed to meet. Yeah, it's not a bad theory. Could be. Who knows? Uh, all eyes. This is funny.
Who came up with that again? Which law enforcement officer said that was what was said?
Yeah, but you know
Carter?
what? And I disagree with everyone here in that point. And I know it doesn't make sense, a sentence like that. This is the path that be a gun, but sincerely, I hear that. But again, as I say every time here in my channel, I'm not an English speaker, so maybe my ear is not as good as yours, guys. And I know that it doesn't make sense, but when I hear that, and I heard that sentence 2 million times, and I always hear that diagram. But again, it can be my ear, which is because even people or creators that are pro prosecution, they don't hear that diagram. So maybe it's my problem, but
I hear her repeating Libby.
just being honest, that's what I hear.
I hear her repeating Libby. Is that the trail that we're supposed to go down? Not that be a gun. You said that's the trail we're supposed to go down? Like as she's, I hear it differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True crime web, Steve. I believe Richard Allen's questioning should have focused more on why posing victims, stick placement, redressing of Abby. But that's just me and my experiences with interviewing theory. Great point. Again, the interrogation conducted by Holman was really sad, bad, bad, bad. I don't know how people here in this community they think well about Holman. Holman is just a disgrace. And talking about disgraces here, okay, one of the main elements for the conviction of Richard Allen is the confessions, right? And that confession when he's supposed to talk about the white van, about crossing the creek, placing sticks. It comes from Walla, but it's funny that for the other confessions we have audio material, video material, but for that specific damning confession, we just have to trust Walla. So I have a problem with that. Besides the fact that, in my opinion, anyways, that's I don't want to go to other side of the conversation. But what do you think about that?
I think the question for me before I can even get to that is why didn't it? Why wasn't he questioned on that at all? From the investigative standpoint, why didn't that come up? Even if it was Odin driven or not, like why wasn't he asked that during his interrogation? Why were there so many missed things in the interrogation that could have been completely relevant to a probable cause that would help their cause? That's kind of my thing. Right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, for sure. You as a libertarian, would you testify to it being that be a gun under oath? Yeah, because that's what I hear. So yeah, I would. And it's funny because that's what I hear since the first time. I cannot hear anything different.
I
But
would
when
rather trust Bridge Guy than Monica Walla, and I mean that. That's how bad Monica Walla is.
yeah, she's bad.
Okay, I'm sorry. Carry on.
Uh, it's funny because we are very permeated about this case. So we have a lot of information in our minds or brains. So when we hear that audio, maybe we are, I'm not going to say biased, but maybe influenced by the information we already have in our minds. And what do I say that? Because I sent the video, the 43 seconds video to multiple friends out of Canada. Some of them are in Colombia, some of them are in the United States,
Oh.
Ireland. I have friends everywhere. And some of them are English speakers or American citizens. And I ask to everyone, what do you hear here? No one said, this is the path that we go down. No one said that be a gun. The answers were super funny. So, because they don't know anything about the case. So it's just, it was just
Could
like
be a random.
yeah, an interesting experiment, I think, because the outcomes were just funny. So anyway, it could be related to some type of preconception we have. I don't know.
I like you know what really helped me feel like during the interrogation videos with Richard Allen, and I know that you might not feel this way and others, but when he said, listen, you can fuck with me, but don't fuck with my wife. That shows that someone has compassion, right? The person who did this to those girls probably has 0 ounce of any self-awareness of trying to care for someone else. Like without having um a self-interest to care for such person. You know what I mean? Like that is just so brutal what happened to those girls that you're not dealing with someone who can even fake or feign having empathy. So for him to just really be like, not my wife, you know, that shows that he has feelings, compassion, and he cares about people who are being manipulated, in my opinion, right? Not someone who would just go slash 2 girls' throats. That's just how I feel on the interrogation video.
And in the same order of ideas, I'm gonna change the angle there. Think about the lack of empathy from the side of Jerry Holman. Not against Richard Allen, of course. His job is not to have empathy for Allen, but the way he talked about the girls and the way he talked about Kathy Allen, your fucking wife, and did you see the pictures of those fucking girls? So it's like he's not really caring about the girls. It's just like a personal matter for him. So fuck the girls, those fucking girls. How can you talk about the girls that way?
And to Kathy is just realizing that her husband may potentially be a serial or a murderer of 2 girls. And he's going to her, tell him, Kathy, tell him to do the right thing. Motherfucker, you're doing the worst type of thing to a woman who you just destroyed her image of her husband in her life. You changed her life forever, and you want her to do your work for you. Like Jerry Holman would be more apt to do this crime than Richard Allen on that alone. How he treated Richard. Like that's just how I feel. And these cops, man, when they get power hungry and driven, I feel like that doesn't help their case to not be a suspect or one of them of their own be a potential murderer. And that's just how I feel about it. I think it's more likely that one of their own killed those girls than Richard Allen. I do. Toby. Looking at you, Toby.
You have a crush with Toby. I
wouldn't call it a crush.
I don't know. Let's say, in my opinion, Richard Allen, he may be involved in the crime, and he could be a bridge guy. He could be likely, in my opinion. But since he was the one coming from that side of the bridge, and in my theory, there were other people waiting at the other side. To me, it's most likely that the killers were the ones waiting for the girls. You know what I mean? But anyways, it looks
Yeah,
like me like let's say if Richard Allen was bridge
you have
guy,
two people waiting. You
he
have two
was
people
conducting the
waiting.
girls to that area to other people.
Hmm.
So that's why I
Yep.
it's frustrating because we don't have answers here. So what
And who is
really
the guy
happened?
at the mailbox? Who's the guy at the mailbox? Where's the video of the 8:45 creepy weird guy at the mailbox scoping things out? Where's that footage? Like, did the police just say, "Oh, that's just probably Jim Bob down the street or Pat Brown just doing his thing that he always has a morning walk." Like, that's where the defense should have been like, why did you not get this information? But even if the defense did their job 100% or even 80%, like, I think that goal would have fucked them over anyway. So I really don't think it matters. That's why I don't harp on the defense so much, because man, they were shot in the foot before they could start the race in this case. So it wouldn't have mattered. And that's why there's something wrong with the law enforcement or leadership of the government aspect in this case. This is why I'm leaning more towards that every day.
Yeah. Anyways, it's
So why do you think Richard Allen is in that regard of being involved? Um
because of
and
the
knowing that he's on camera leaving at 36 or 137, something like that.
to me it's not even about the car, it's not even about the timeline, it's not even that. I have another total different way to connect Allen, and to me it's related to the Wabash River search and to the confession of Keegan Klein. It's just, to me it's very coincidental that after the confession of Keegan, law enforcement they conducted the search of the Wabash River, and right after that they arrested Richard Allen. So I have a whole theory about that, but I'm trying
But
to
you have to
summarize
take
that.
into consideration Kathy Shanks saying, "Here, there's a tip." And now we know it was written cleared. It was printed off in 2019. So it kind of almost feels like they were always keeping a patsy close by when shit just didn't figure itself out.
Yeah, look, I don't know. That's how I connect the dots. And again,
And I respect that. Like, it's not impossible.
even if I agree with you guys in a lot of points, like for example, to me, the bullet evidence shouldn't be allowed to be part of the process. To me, they were comparing apples with oranges, uh, but I don't think it's irrelevant, you know. So there are multiple pieces of information that even if they are not like a definitive proof of the involvement of Richard Allen, I don't consider those elements irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even the timeline, Richard Allen placing himself that day at that time, using similar clothes. I know that we can challenge every single particular element there, but when we see, or when I see the whole totality, I don't think that every single element is irrelevant. And then you have
Mhm.
a multitude of elements there. But to me, the punch is the confession of Keegan. And I may be wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right. It's just a theory, and I may be wrong about it. But
Yeah, confessions without like a solid here. For instance, in the Michael Vaughn case, the missing then 5-year-old, one of the suspects who I talk to quite frequently um, confessed falsely on purpose to get out of many different situations. First of all, he thought and this is a person who was born with fetal alcohol syndrome and has lifelong lasting effects. He's not a complete idiot, but he makes idiot choices on the regular. And he false confessed, and there's a video out there of him false confessing. I mean, saying stuff like, go dig here, and the police dug up his backyard. They never found him. And he told me the reason why he did that was because the police were coming at him so hard for about 4 or 5 days that he wanted to get out of the situation. He felt like the walls were closing in. And really, just between me and everyone watching, it really was because his false confession wasn't working to get what he wanted, which was out of segregation, out of the hole. And he thought that he could get time off of his sentence and immunity to send these police on a wild goose chase, right? To then say, thanks, I'm sorry you couldn't find him. Maybe the other 3 suspects know, and wash his hands, but he's not thinking clearly. And no indictments yet. And it's been 3 years since he false confessed.
Yeah, it's just that everything surrounding Keegan Klein, to me, like reinforces the idea that his confession was a true confession. And we can stay here the whole night, but we can talk about the Marathon gas station. He was looking for the Marathon gas station the day of the murders, and that security video is just lost. So the piece of evidence that could corroborate that Keegan was there is just accidentally destroyed by law enforcement. He's saying that he was supposed to meet Libby, but she never showed up. David Vito saying that they know, and this is in one of the transcripts, that Keegan communicated to Libby the day of the murders. So I understand that confessions can be false, of course, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
But
especially in mental duress, and especially in mental incapacities.
For sure.
Especially then.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know if I think we touched a lot of subjects tonight, and maybe I'm gonna save you for another live. It was super cool, really.
I think that a lot of people have these thoughts over and over again. That's been lingering for how long now? I think it's good to talk it out without throwing daggers. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to do that. Maybe every one of our theories is right in a different way, where everyone's fucking connected to this thing. Hell, what if everyone that we think is guilty is in fact connected in some weird ring? And we don't have to go the low blow route. And I appreciate you for letting me up here and
no, I agree with I agree with you. We shouldn't smash the theories of the other people here, especially when this investigation was so bad. When a lot of mistakes were committed here, when there are elements that they don't add up at all. I think that there are a lot of angles that are still open, and you're right. It's hard, but we should be able to talk about the different theories without killing each other. You know what I mean? And maybe, as you say, the truth is in between. It's in the middle of those. I don't know. This type of conversations are important, in my opinion, at least to trigger some movement in our brains. I don't know.
We do have one thing in common, that Ron Logan and Keegan Klein are definitely probable, in my opinion, more than many of the suspects that have been thrown out there. I think that we could agree. That's very probable.
Sure. So I'm gonna stop maybe the streaming tonight. Eve, it was super cool. I enjoyed a lot the conversation.
Likewise. Thank you. And I'd love to come back whenever you're free.
tomorrow night. Yeah, no.
Deal.
We're
Or just whenever.
yeah, we're gonna stay in touch for sure. And
Okay.
thank you everyone in the chat. I saw like a mini war between Michael Osbrook and Eye of Apophis. I don't know what was happening there, but stay chill, guys. See you soon. Thank you, Eve, again. Ciao, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.